Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. Lisa, do you agree to the divorce? Jason looked at me, a flash of urgency crossing his eyes, subtle but unmistakable. I glanced at the divorce papers neatly laid out on the table, then at Emily standing behind him, pretending to look anxious. In my past life, I signed that fake divorce agreement through tears just to help them be together. And what did I get in return? They secretly registered their marriage behind my back. I was kicked out of the military family compound. I died alone on a freezing winter night. In this life, I smiled calmly. Sure, I agree. Lisa, do you agree to the divorce? He repeated, eyes still tinged with that quiet urgency. I took a good look at the man in front of me, tall and upright with a square, rugged face. The dark green military uniform on him made him look all the more authoritative. In my previous life, I had been completely fooled by that righteous appearance. I truly believed he proposed a fake divorce to protect Emily. To protect Emily's reputation, let's get a temporary divorce. Once the rumors fade, we'll get back together. Those were his exact words. I looked again at the divorce agreement laid out on the table, then at Emily, who stood behind him looking pitiful in her washed-out blue cotton dress. Her hair was braided in 2 long plaits, her expression weak and tearful. She nervously rubbed her fingers like she was scared. I wouldn't agree. Jason, maybe we shouldn't do this, she said, her eyes red and glassy, voice trembling like she was on the verge of tears. I can't let Lisa make such a sacrifice because of me. She really was a top-tier actress. In my past life, I'd signed that fake divorce paper with tears, thinking I was doing the noble thing. And what did I get? They got married behind my back. I was kicked out of the compound. I died alone in that bitter cold winter night. Lisa, think it over, Jason said, his tone growing impatient. You know Emily's situation. She's a relocated civilian here. No family or support. All these rumors, you know how much damage they can do to a young woman's reputation. I sneered. What rumors? They were nothing more than whispers that started because she deliberately flirted with Jason in public, then acted like a helpless victim who was being misunderstood. And it's only temporary, Jason added. Once the gossip dies down, we'll remarry. You're a military doctor. You should understand this kind of compromise. Understand? What a joke. In my past life, I understood too much. I was too kind, too forgiving, and I let them play me in the palm of their hands. This time, I smiled lightly. All right, I agree. Jason was clearly caught off guard. He didn't expect me to say yes so easily. Emily's expression froze for a moment. Then a glimmer of triumph flashed through her eyes. Lisa, you really mean that? Emily asked, still playing her role. What's there to hesitate about? I cut her off before she could say more. I picked up the pen on the table. It's just a divorce. Makes no difference to me either way. I signed my name on the divorce papers quickly and cleanly, without the slightest hesitation. Jason's expression darkened. He probably realized something wasn't right. In his mind, I was supposed to cry, beg, and finally agree only after he consoled me. Lisa, you don't seem too happy about this, he said. I put down the pen and looked at him with a mocking smile. What? Did you think I'd cry and throw a fit? That's not what I meant, Jason said awkwardly. It's just you agreed too fast. So what did you expect? That I'd get down on my knees and beg you not to leave me? I scoffed. Jason, don't flatter yourself. Sensing the tension, Emily quickly tried to smooth things over. Lisa, Jason didn't mean it like that. He's just worried you might be upset. Upset? What is there to be upset about? I stood up. I brushed the dust off my clothes. I'm a proper military doctor. Do you really think no one else would want me? Jason's face darkened even more. He was used to being admired and obeyed in the military district. When had he ever been spoken to like this? Lisa, don't go too far, he snapped. Too far. I laughed coldly. Commander Chun, you wanted to get back with your first love. I let you, and now you think I'm being too agreeable. What exactly do you want from me? Jason looked like he wanted to explain. It's not like that. I never planned to get back together with her. I pointed straight at Emily. Then why did you get divorced? Just for fun. Emily's face flushed red. She clearly hadn't expected me to be this blunt. Jason, did we make a mistake? She asked in a soft, pitiful voice, her eyes full of regret as she looked up at him. We didn't make a mistake, Jason said firmly, shooting me a glare. Lisa, you signed the agreement. We'll follow it through as written. Of course. I picked up the property deed from the table. The house goes to me. The savings are split 50-50ths. It's all clearly written here. Jason nodded, thinking he'd gotten a good deal. What he didn't know was that in my past life, after I died, all of this ended up in his and Emily's hands anyway. Well, then I'll get going. I turned and headed for the door. Oh, and one more thing, Commander Chin. Since we're divorced now, don't come looking for me again. I'd rather not be accused of interfering with someone else's relationship. Without waiting for a response, I walked straight out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Behind me, I heard Emily's voice. Jason, do you think Lisa misunderstood something? We really were just. I didn't catch the rest of Jason's answer, nor did I care to. What mattered was that the show had just begun. As soon as I stepped out the front door, I saw Mom waiting anxiously near the entrance. She rushed over. Lisa, well, did that dog of a man really divorce you? I waved the divorce certificate in front of her. It's done. What? Mom's voice shot up an octave. You actually went through with it? I told you to cry. Make a scene. Men are all shameless. If you act too willing, they think they're worth something. Times have changed, Mom. I took her arm and walked us toward home. It's 1978. Women in this new era have to be strong and independent. We can't keep sacrificing ourselves just to please men. Mom gave me a look. New era or not, how's a woman supposed to live without a man? I'm a military doctor. I make 32 yuan a month. That's more than most workers, I said, patting my chest. Your daughter can take care of herself and take care of you too. She grumbled, but still looked worried. Still, Jason calls the shots in the military district. If you've offended him, how will you manage in the army from now on? She had a point. In my past life, after the divorce, my work became a nightmare. I was isolated, targeted, eventually transferred to a remote clinic, and died there, bitter and forgotten. But this life would be different. I had memories from my past. I knew how things would unfold. Don't worry, Mom, I said with a mysterious smile. Jason won't have the luxury to bother with me for much longer. We returned home. Mom kept muttering angrily about Jason and Emily the whole way. That Emily's no good either. Just showed up and started clinging to every man she saw. I knew from the start she was trouble, but you wouldn't listen. There's no use talking about it now. I poured her a cup of tea. Mom, how much money do we still have? Besides your salary, I've saved a little over 100 yuan, she answered, a bit puzzled. Why do you ask? I want to start a small business. I started calculating in my mind. Now that the policy had been relaxed and private businesses were allowed, I wanted to open a small clinic. A clinic? Mom's eyes lit up. That's a great idea. A doctor will never run out of patients. I nodded. In my past life, after the reform and opening up, private clinics popped up like mushrooms after the rain. Business was booming everywhere. I had solid medical training, and I also knew the direction things would go in the future. I could absolutely get ahead of the curve. But you're still a military doctor right now. Can you even open a clinic? Mom looked a little worried. I'll figure it out, I said confidently. Just get the money ready, Mom. Tomorrow I'll go inquire about the policies. Though she didn't fully understand what I was planning, she still agreed. Just then, there was a knock at the gate. I opened the door and saw our neighbor, Mrs. Jiang. Lisa, I heard you and Commander Chin got divorced. Her face was full of curiosity. Word really did travel fast. It had only been a few hours. Yes, Mrs. Jiang, I answered calmly. Oh child, how could you be so rash? She scolded, looking at me like I'd thrown my life away. Commander Chin is such a catch. How could you bear to leave him? There's nothing to feel bad about, I said lightly. If we're a good fit, we stay together. If we're not, we separate. That's just how it is. She still looked like she wanted to say more, but I cut her off. It's getting late, Mrs. You should head home. Seeing that I didn't want to continue the conversation, she reluctantly left. No sooner had I closed the door than another knock came. This time it was Xiali, the messenger from the military district. Dr. Lee, Commander Chen asked me to deliver this to you. Xiali held up a package. I took it and opened it. Inside were some daily necessities and food. Is there a medication bag in here? I asked. Xiali shook his head. Commander Chen just told me to drop these off. He didn't say anything else. After he left, I tossed the package aside. What was Jason trying to do now? Put on a good guy act. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about how things had gone in my past life. I remembered clearly the timeline of Jason and Emily's relationship. They would officially register their marriage a month from now. Emily would get pregnant and give birth to a son. I would die the following winter from pneumonia. But this time, I wouldn't let the tragedy repeat itself. The next morning, I went to the county government office to inquire about the self-employment policies. The policy had indeed been loosened, but I still needed approvals from relevant departments. My status as a military doctor was a complication, but not an impossible one. After leaving the county office, I went to a city pharmaceutical company to research supply channels. As a military doctor, I had extensive knowledge of medications, their effects, their costs, which ones had the highest profit margins, and which ones were most in demand. I spent the entire day gathering information and drafting a detailed business plan. When I got home, Mom had already prepared dinner. Where did you go today, Lisa? She asked. Commander Chen came by several times looking for you. He did. I was a bit surprised. He said he had something to tell you, Mom said hesitantly. He seemed pretty anxious. I let out a cold laugh. What now? Is Jason suddenly growing a conscience? Or is he just feeling guilty that I agreed so quickly and now he's uneasy? Either way, I wasn't falling for it again. On the third evening, I had just returned from the medicinal herb market when I saw Jason standing outside our door. He was still wearing his dark green military uniform, but he looked worn out, his face tired, and his eyes bloodshot. Lisa, can we talk? Jason's voice was soft. What's there to talk about? I stepped around him, reaching for the door to go inside. Commander Chen, we're already divorced. Please remember your position. I know you're angry, he said, stepping in front of me, blocking my way. But there are some things I need to explain to you. What things? I stopped and looked at him with a cold smile. It's about Emily. Stop. I raised my hand in a clear gesture to cut him off. Commander Chen, whatever Emily is to you, it has nothing to do with me. Whatever you two decide to do is your business. Just don't drag me into it. Jason's expression darkened. You've changed, Lisa. Have I? I tilted my head slightly, pretending to think. Maybe going through a divorce does that. Suddenly, everything becomes very clear. You weren't like this before, he said, his voice filled with frustration. You used to be kind, understanding. I'm still kind, I said with a smile. Didn't I step aside for your love? Isn't that kind enough? Jason was at a loss for words, clearly choked by my response. Just then, Emily appeared at the end of the alley. The moment she saw us talking, her expression shifted. Jason, what are you doing here? She called out as she hurried over, stepping right next to him, her eyes wary as she looked at me. I came to talk to Lisa about something, Jason replied, clearly uncomfortable. Can't you talk at work tomorrow? Emily's tone was tinged with jealousy. You're divorced now. If people keep seeing you two together, what will they think? I couldn't help but laugh. Emily was a master manipulator. Just a few words, and Jason was instantly caught between a rock and a hard place. You're right, Comrade Sue, I said, pretending to agree. Commander Chen, you're a free man now. You should cherish your time with Comrade Sue. Emily's face turned an even deeper shade of red. She clearly didn't expect me to be so direct. Lisa, you've misunderstood, she said quickly. Jason and I are just ordinary friends. I raised a brow. Ordinary friends? So he divorced his wife just for a friend? Emily was stunned, speechless. That's enough, Lisa. Jason snapped, his face darkening. What did I say wrong? I blinked innocently. Aren't you two in love? As your ex-wife, I should be happy for you. At that moment, Mrs. Zhang from next door poked her head out. What's going on here? Why the fuss? She asked nosily. eyes darting between the three of us. Soon, more neighbors came out, whispering among themselves. Isn't that Commander Chen? And that's the relocated city girl, Emily, right? What are they all doing in front of Lisa's house? Their curious stares moved back and forth between us. Emily's face turned bright red. She hated being the center of attention like this. Jason, let's go, she whispered, tugging at his sleeve. Jason glanced at me one last time, but in the end he turned and left with Emily. I watched their backs as they disappeared down the alley, the corners of my lips curling into a cold smile. Lisa, what was that all about? Mrs. Zhang shuffled over, her eyes gleaming with gossip. Is Commander Chen trying to get back together with you? No, Mrs. Zhang, you're overthinking it. I waved my hand casually. They just came to say goodbye. They're getting married soon. Already? Mrs. Zhang's eyes widened in shock. True love doesn't like to wait, right? I said with a mockingly casual tone. As soon as the neighbors heard that, the whole alley burst into chatter. That was fast. Only 3 days since the divorce. That Emily girl really knows how to hook a man. She's got Commander Chen wrapped around her finger already. And Lisa, she just let him go like that. Such a good man. And she gave him up without a fight. I stood there quietly listening to all of it. I felt a quiet satisfaction in my heart. These words would spread through the entire military district in no time. When that happened, Jason and Emily wouldn't be able to keep a low profile, even if they wanted to. Back inside, Mom was preparing dinner. Sweetheart, what was all that noise outside just now? It's nothing, I replied casually. Jason came by for a bit. He's not trying to get back together with you, is he? Mom asked, a little anxious. Not a chance. I shook my head. His heart's with Emily now. He's not looking back. Well, that's good, she sighed in relief. A man like that isn't worth keeping. After dinner, I pulled out my ledger and started calculating my startup funds. Mom leaned over to take a look. You're really serious about opening a clinic? Yeah, I nodded. I already looked into it. The paperwork isn't hard to handle. I pointed to the numbers. Initial investment will be around 300 yuan. We've got a little over 100 right now, so we're still short. I could borrow a bit, Mom offered. No need, I said with a mysterious smile. I've got a plan. In my past life, I knew about certain investment opportunities, things like stamps and antiques. Now is the perfect time to buy while prices are still low. Mom, come with me to the antique market tomorrow. The antique market? She blinked. You're buying antiques? They're cheap right now, I explained, but in a few years their value will skyrocket. We'll buy a few pieces and keep them. If we ever urgently need money, we can sell them for a profit. Mom didn't really understand, but she trusted me. All right, whatever you say. Just then, there was another knock at the gate. This time, it was Comrade Lee from the military district. Comrade Lisa, sorry to bother you, he said, looking slightly uncomfortable. I'd like to have a word. I knew right away Jason had sent him. Please come in, Comrade Lee, I said politely, letting him inside. Once seated, he hesitated for a moment, then spoke. Comrade Lisa, everyone's quite concerned about the situation between you and Commander Chen. Thank you for your concern, sir, I replied calmly. But this is a personal matter between the two of us. Well, yes, he paused. The military district is like a big family. We all hope you and the commander can reconcile. I couldn't help but smile. Comrade, matters of the heart can't be forced. Since we both realized we're not a good match, separating is the best outcome for both of us. But Commander Chen, what about him? I asked, feigning concern. He's been in a terrible mood these past few days. It's even affecting his work. I sneered inwardly. Jason in a bad mood? In my past life, he and Emily were practically inseparable right after the divorce. Well, maybe it's something else bothering him, I said, feigning thoughtfulness. From what I hear, someone's been pursuing him lately. Maybe he's just torn about his feelings. Commissar Lee froze. The person I was hinting at was, of course, Emily. I heard that the relocated city girl, Emily, has feelings for him, I said directly. If a situation like that isn't handled properly, it can definitely mess with someone's emotions. Commissar Lee's face changed. Military officers are supposed to report relationships, especially someone like Commander Chin. And he just got divorced. A new romance right now would be highly inappropriate. Are you sure about this, Comrade Lisa? He asked, frowning deeply. Absolutely, I said with a firm, serious expression. Commissar Lee, even though I've divorced Commander Chen, I still hope he doesn't make any mistakes. If this isn't dealt with carefully, it could damage his career. Commissar fell silent for a long while. At the end he just said, I understand. Thank you for the reminder. After I saw Commissar Lee off, I was in a fantastic mood. That little trick, borrowing someone else's knife to do the cutting, should be enough to make Jason and Emily sweat for a while. The next morning, I was in the military hospital sorting through case files when I heard a loud commotion outside. Commander Chen, you owe the organization an explanation. It was Commissar Lee's voice, and he sounded furious. I quietly walked to the door and peeked out. Jason and Commissar Lee were standing in the hallway facing off. I haven't done anything against military discipline, Jason said, clearly trying to hold his composure, but his face looked tense. Oh really? Commissar Lee scoffed. Then how do you explain Emily staying in your dorm until midnight last night? Jason was momentarily stunned. How do you know about that? Someone reported it. Commissar Lee raised the letter in his hand. It says that right after your divorce, you began an inappropriate relationship with the relocated civilian, Emily. You're damaging the reputation of a military officer. I smiled to myself. Looks like one of the neighbors had added some flair to the story and submitted an official complaint. She wasn't feeling well, Jason tried to explain. I was just showing concern. Concern? Commissar Lee's voice rose. Concern means keeping her in your dorm until midnight. Jason, do you take me for a fool? By now, other hospital staff had gathered around, whispering among themselves with faces full of gossip-hungry curiosity. That's enough, Jason snapped, clearly embarrassed and angry. This is my personal business. Is it? Commissar Lee shot back. You're a senior officer in the military district. Everything you do reflects on the organization. His tone turned cold and official. Starting today, you are suspended from duty. What? Suspended? That was worse than I expected. In my past life, even though Jason and Emily's relationship had been frowned upon, it had never gotten him disciplined like this. It seemed the butterfly effect of this life had already begun. Jason's face turned pale. He obviously hadn't expected things to escalate like this. Commissar Lee, I can explain. Explain what? Lee said with a sneer. Explain how you couldn't wait to start a new relationship right after your divorce? He shook his head in disappointment. Jason, I really thought better of you. Lisa was such a good comrade, and you didn't appreciate her. Instead, you chose to involve yourself in this kind of mess. As soon as I heard my name mentioned, I quickly ducked back into the office, pretending I hadn't heard a thing. A few minutes later, Nurse Wang ran in, face practically glowing with excitement. Dr. Lee, did you hear? Commander Chen got suspended. What? I asked, pretending to be shocked. It's all because of that Emily girl, she whispered conspiratorially. I heard they were together last night, and someone reported them. No way. I made a face like I couldn't believe it. Why not? Nurse Wang looked outraged. Dr. Lee, you only just got divorced, and now he pulls this. That's so disgusting. I let out a sigh. Let it go. It's in the past now. You're way too kind, Nurse Wang huffed. If it were anyone else, they'd be raising hell right now. That afternoon, just as I was about to clock out, I saw Emily standing at the hospital gate, eyes red and puffy. When she spotted me, she rushed over. Lisa, please help us. She grabbed my arm in desperation. Jason got suspended. It's all because of me. What's that got to do with me? I said coolly, pulling my arm away. Please, can you talk to the leadership? Tell them we didn't do anything inappropriate. Emily was crying like a willow in the rain, her face a pitiful mess. I really was just feeling sick. Jason was only taking care of me. I couldn't help but laugh. Comrade Sue, you're saying this in a very interesting way. If you two really didn't have anything going on, why do you need me to testify? Because Emily stammered, unable to get the words out. Because you do have something going on, right? I said bluntly. Emily's face turned even redder. We were in love, but we hadn't done anything illegal or against the rules. In love, I feigned surprise. Then when are you two planning to get married? After Jason's suspension is lifted, she said awkwardly. That might be a long wait, I said with a sympathetic smile. Comrade Sue, issues involving military conduct are taken very seriously. It could be a year, maybe even longer, before he's reinstated. Emily's face turned ghost white. A year or longer. That's the optimistic estimate. I kept the pressure on. If this doesn't get handled properly, I said, he might be forced out of the military altogether. Forced out. That would mean Jason would have to leave the army and be reassigned to a civilian job. And with his current situation, what kind of decent position could he possibly get? Emily clearly realized that too. Her tears came down harder than ever. No, that can't happen. Jason's so capable. The party wouldn't do that to him. Not necessarily, I said, shaking my head. Right now they're clamping down hard on conduct violations. If things escalate, it could ruin his whole future. Emily slumped to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Watching her in this pitiful state gave me a deep sense of satisfaction. In my past life, she stepped over my dead body to live the life of a commander's wife. Now it was her turn to taste despair. Comrade Sue, don't be too upset, I said, pretending to sound sympathetic. If you two truly love each other, then you should face this hardship together. But I'm just a city transplant. I have nothing. She wept even harder. If Jason really has to leave the military, how will we survive? So that's it. Emily didn't fall for Jason because of who he was as a person. She fell for his rank and status. Now that all of that was slipping away, of course, she was terrified. Then you should think of a way to help him, I said, feigning concern. For example, you could take responsibility. Admit that you were the one who seduced him. What? Emily looked at me in horror. That way Commander Chin becomes the victim. His punishment would be lighter, I said seriously. At most, you'd be sent back to your original hometown. Her face turned completely white. Being sent back would mean returning to that impoverished rural village. No future, no way to climb back up again. No, I can't do that, she said, shaking her head. Jason would never agree to it. Well, then there's nothing more to be done, I shrugged. You can't expect him to ruin his career for you. Emily fell into a desperate silence. I looked at her and felt immense satisfaction. This was just the beginning. The real drama was still to come. That night, I was at home reviewing my business plans when I suddenly heard a loud argument erupt in the courtyard. Emily, are you out of your mind? It was Jason's voice, angry and sharp. I quietly moved to the window and peeked out. Jason and Emily were standing in the courtyard, facing off. I'm doing this for you, Emily sobbed. If I just admit I seduced you, they'll go easier on you. I don't need that kind of protection, Jason shouted. I'm a man. I won't let a woman take the blame for me. But your career. My career doesn't need your sacrifice. He cut her off harshly. Emily, if you really loved me, you wouldn't even say something like that. Emily cried harder. Jason, I just didn't want to see you suffer. The one who suffered should have been Lisa. Jason suddenly said, his voice low. I divorced her because of you. Now I'm suspended. Also because of you. I owe her. I let out a cold laugh from behind the window. Now he remembers he owes me. A little late for that, isn't it? You're still thinking about her? Emily's voice grew sharp and shrill. She's doing just fine without you. She doesn't care at all. What do you mean? She told me this afternoon that you deserve to be suspended. She didn't feel sorry for you at all, Emily said, clearly twisting the story to make it sting. Jason froze. Then Jason's face darkened. I shook my head to myself. Emily was truly something twisted and calculating. She had come begging me for help. Yet now she was turning around and claiming I said those things. What a snake. She really said that. Jason's voice trembled slightly. Yes, Emily insisted, keeping up her act. She even said, you deserve to be punished. That's what you get for betraying your marriage. Jason's face turned even more grim. Then he suddenly stormed off, striding straight toward my house. I hurried back inside and pretended I hadn't seen or heard a thing. Bang bang, bang, bang. Jason pounded on the door loud and hard. "Lisa, come out. I need to talk to you," he shouted. Mom startled at the noise. "Lisa, what's going on out there?" "It's nothing, Mom. You go rest," I said, trying to soothe her before stepping outside and opening the door. Jason stood there, face tight with anger, eyes burning with fury. "Commander Chen, what exactly do you think you're doing showing up like this in the middle of the night?" I asked, feigning composure. "I want to ask you something," he growled. "Is it true you think I deserve to be suspended?" I silently cursed Emily for her big mouth, but kept a calm face. "I never said that," I replied flatly. "She told me you said it to her directly." "Then she lied," I shrugged. "Commander, it's up to you who you want to believe. But please don't come to my house and cause a scene." Jason looked taken aback. He hadn't expected me to be so direct. "You really didn't say that? Why would I?" I shot back. "What would I gain from your suspension?" His anger slowly faded, replaced by confusion and pain. "Then why would Emily lie about that?" "That's a question for her, not me," I said coldly. "Now if you'll excuse me, it's late and I need to rest." I moved to close the door, but Jason stopped it with his hand. "Wait, Lisa," he said, lowering his voice. "Can we talk?" "Really talk about what?" I asked. "Our past? Our future?" His tone softened. "Lisa, I've realized something. I can't live without you." I almost laughed out loud. This man, how hypocritical could he be? He had stormed over here ready to accuse me, and now he was saying he couldn't live without me. "Commander Chen, don't you think that's a bit ridiculous?" I said mockingly. "Just a few days ago, you divorced me for Emily. Now you say you can't live without me." I was confused. Confused? I cut him off. "And what about Emily? Doesn't she deserve better than a man who flips his feelings this fast? She endured so much criticism for you. Now you're ready to throw her away." Jason was speechless. "And let me ask you this," I continued. "Do you really think I'd take back a man who switches sides the moment someone new appears? I'm not that kind of woman." "Then what are you?" I challenged. "Loyal, devoted." I laughed coldly. A loyal man doesn't divorce his wife for another woman. Jason's face turned red. He knew he had no defense. "Lisa, I admit I made a mistake." "There's no but," I interrupted firmly. "You made your choice. Now you have to live with it. Emily's waiting for you. Don't let her down." And with that, I shut the door in his face, leaving him standing alone outside. After a while, I heard his footsteps slowly fading into the distance. Mom came out of her room. "Lisa, you did the right thing. A man like that isn't worth forgiving." "I stopped being angry a long time ago," I said with a smile. "Now I just want to live my own life." "That's my girl," Mom nodded proudly. "By the way, are we still going to the antique market tomorrow?" "Yes, absolutely," I said confidently. "Mom, our good days are just beginning." The next morning, Mom and I headed out early for the antique market. It was 1978. The true value of antiques hadn't yet been widely recognized. A lot of incredible items were being treated like junk and discarded. Relying on memories from my past life, I quickly found several valuable pieces. A porcelain vase from the Qing dynasty was priced at 5 yuan. In my past life, that same vase sold at auction for 50,000. A traditional ink painting from the Republic of China era was going for 10 yuan. In the future, it would be worth well over 100,000. There were also a few ancient copper coins priced at 2 yuan each. And I knew that in my previous life, each one fetched several thousand. Without hesitation, I bought them all. The total came to just over 30 yuan. "Sweetheart, do you really think these old things are worth anything?" Mom looked doubtful. "Don't worry, Mom. They're definitely valuable," I said confidently, carefully wrapping up the treasures. "Just wait a few years. You'll see." After leaving the antique market, we headed to the post office. I bought several special edition stamps. They only cost a few cents now, but in the future, their value would multiply by hundreds or even thousands of times. We spent the entire morning out and returned home with our arms full. That afternoon, I went to the county office to formally submit my application to open a private clinic. The clerk looked over my paperwork and said, "Comrade Lin, you're a military doctor. Opening a private clinic may present a conflict." "I'm planning to resign from the military hospital," I responded without hesitation. I had already thought this through. I want to serve more ordinary people. The clerk nodded. "In that case, you'll need to complete the resignation process first, and then apply for a business license." "Understood," I said. After leaving the county office, I went straight to the military hospital and found the director to hand in my resignation. He looked stunned. "Dr. Lin, why are you resigning so suddenly? Is it because of what happened with Commander Chen?" "No, Director." I shook my head. "I just want a change of pace. I'm thinking of opening a small clinic. Be my own boss." The director fell silent for a moment, thinking. "Lisa, think it over. We're at a critical moment in the reform era. The military hospital needs people like you." "I've already made up my mind," I said firmly. "Please approve it." Seeing that I was resolute, the director finally relented. "All right, but be prepared. Running a private clinic won't be easy." "I'm confident I can handle it," I said. Once I finished the resignation paperwork, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. From that day forward, I was free, no longer bound by anyone or anything. Meanwhile, Jason and Emily were still drowning in the chaos of his suspension. That's what you call karma. Word of my resignation quickly spread throughout the military district. Everyone was stunned. A military doctor giving up a guaranteed job for a private clinic. Had I lost my mind? But even more surprising was what happened the very next day. Emily was sent back to her hometown. I heard she volunteered to go, saying she didn't want to bring Jason any more trouble. That part surprised me. In my past life, Emily clung to him shamelessly and didn't leave until she became his wife. It seemed that the butterfly effect in this life was stronger than I'd expected. When Jason heard that Emily was leaving, he came running to my house again. "Lisa, you have to help me," he pleaded, his face full of anguish. "Emily is going back to her hometown. I can't let her leave." "What does that have to do with me?" I asked without even looking up, busy sorting medicinal herbs. "Please talk to her," he begged. "Convince her to stay." I froze mid-movement and stared at him in disbelief. "Jason, are you out of your mind? You want me to talk your beloved into staying with you? I know it's a huge favor." "It's not a favor. It's shameless." I cut him off coldly. "Jason, have some dignity." His face flushed, but he still had the audacity to continue. "Lisa, I'm begging you. If Emily goes back, she'll never come back." "So what?" I said coldly. "If she never comes back, what does that have to do with me?" But I stood up and looked him straight in the eye. "Jason, let me say it again. Emily is your woman, not mine. Whether she leaves or stays is between the two of you. Don't drag me into it." Jason had nothing to say in return. He left defeated and ashamed. The next day, Emily really did leave. I heard Jason went to see her off at the station. The two of them cried in each other's arms, putting on quite the emotional show. Some people were genuinely touched. I wasn't. In fact, I felt like laughing. What a performance. Pretending to be star-crossed lovers when the truth was they were splitting up because of reality. Still, they had to make it look tragic and romantic. After Emily left, Jason changed completely. He walked around all day with a gloomy face, distracted and listless at work. Even the other officers in the district started noticing and tried to talk some sense into him. "Jason, it's just a woman. Why are you acting like this? You're a soldier. Act like one. Seriously, Lisa was such a good woman, and you threw her away for a city girl." When those words reached me, I just smiled. I didn't say a thing. I didn't need to. Meanwhile, my clinic was moving forward rapidly. I chose a storefront on a busy street with high foot traffic. I rented the space, renovated it, bought equipment, and stocked up on medicine. I was busier than ever, but I felt alive. Mom followed me around every day, helping out however she could. She was exhausted, but her eyes were bright with happiness. "You've really changed," she said one day with admiration. "You used to ask Jason's opinion before doing anything. Now you make every decision on your own. That's because I was too naive back then, I said while organizing medicine. Now I understand. Women need to have their own careers. You can't rely on anyone else. You're absolutely right, Mom nodded. But are you sure you can manage all this on your own? If it gets too much, I'll hire someone, I said confidently. In fact, Mom, I'm planning to hire you. I'll even pay you a salary. She stared at me in surprise. Me? I can't even read. What could I possibly help with? You can help clean up, handle payments, greet patients, I said, smiling. None of that requires reading. She looked thrilled. That's great. I'll finally be earning money too. 1 week later, the clinic officially opened. I posted a notice outside. Grand opening, no registration fee for the first 3 days. It was an effective strategy. On the first day, we had a steady stream of patients. Most of the cases were minor colds, stomach aches, and sprains, but I treated every patient carefully with patience and professionalism. Word spread quickly. Dr. Lin is amazing. My chronic pain went away after just a few doses of her medicine. Yeah, and she's really kind, not like the hospital doctors who barely look at you. Plus, it's cheap. Way cheaper than the hospital. With a good reputation, the business grew naturally. By the end of the first month, my clinic was earning double what I made as a military doctor. Mom couldn't stop smiling when she looked at the ledger. Sweetheart, we're really making money. This is just the beginning, I said with confidence. Mom, just wait and see. The best is yet to come. But just as the clinic was thriving, Jason showed up again. This time he looked worse than ever. Pale, hollow-eyed, and visibly worn down. Lisa, he said with a forced smile. Congratulations. Business looks like it's going great. Thanks, I replied flatly without even glancing up and continued treating my patient. Jason stood quietly off to the side, waiting. He didn't speak until the last patient had left the clinic. Lisa, he finally said. There's something I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I asked flatly without even looking up as I organized some medicine. I want to return to my post, but I need your help. I paused, lifted my head, and looked him in the eye. What kind of help do you need from me? I need a statement from you, saying that our divorce was due to personality differences, not because of a third party. I almost burst out laughing. Jason, that's a pretty outrageous request. You left me for Emily, and now you want me to lie for you. I know this puts you in a difficult position, he said. It's not difficult, I cut in firmly. It's impossible. I won't lie for you, and I definitely won't sacrifice my principles to salvage your career. Jason's face darkened even further. So you hate me that much? I don't hate you, I replied calmly. I just don't want to be involved with you anymore. Not in any way. But we were married, he said quietly. That's in the past, I interrupted. Jason, you made your choices. You deal with the consequences. Don't expect others to clean up your mess. He was at a complete loss for words. In the end, he left with a frustrated sigh, shoulders hunched in defeat. I watched his back as he walked away, feeling a storm of emotions inside me. In my past life, I gave everything to that man, only to be repaid with betrayal and death. But in this life, I was living for myself, and no one was going to control my fate again. 2 months later, an unexpected piece of news exploded like a bomb. Emily came back, and not just that, she came back pregnant. The news spread through the military district like wildfire. What? Emily's pregnant? Who else could the father be? Isn't it obvious? It's got to be Commander Chen's. Oh boy, this is going to be a mess. I heard the rumors while I was treating an elderly man. My hands paused for just a second before I resumed the examination as if nothing had happened. In my past life, Emily had gotten pregnant too, but it was after she and Jason were already married. In this life, it was happening much earlier. The butterfly effect really was stronger than I'd expected. The old man noticed my brief distraction and asked kindly, Dr. Lin, are you all right? Are you feeling unwell? I'm fine, sir, I said with a smile. Let's continue your checkup. After I finished, I looked up and saw Emily standing at the entrance of my clinic. She looked far more haggard than 2 months ago, her skin pale, Her body visibly changed, and most noticeable of all, a small baby bump beginning to show. Lisa, she called out softly. Do you need something? I asked coolly. I want to talk to you, she said, biting her lip. It's about Jason. I'm divorced from Jason. There's nothing to talk about, I replied, continuing to arrange the medicine shelf. If you have anything to say, take it to him. But he's still suspended. He can't help me right now. Her tears began falling. Please, Lisa, I'm begging you. Help us. I looked up at her and gave a cold smile. Help you with what? Help Jason get reinstated. Emily cried harder. If you're willing to testify that we were never involved before the divorce, then he could go back to work. Innocent. I pointed at her belly. What do you call that? Her face flushed red. She stammered but couldn't say a word. Do you think I'm stupid? I said, standing up and towering over her. You're carrying Jason's child, and you want me to testify that your relationship was innocent. I can say the baby isn't his, Emily said, gritting her teeth. I could hardly believe my ears. What did you just say? I can say the baby belongs to someone else, Emily repeated, her expression desperate, like she was ready to sacrifice everything. That way, Jason won't have to take responsibility. I was stunned by her shamelessness. For the sake of Jason's future, she was willing to disown her own child. Wow, Emily, I said coldly. You really are something else. You'd even deny your own baby. I don't have another choice, she sobbed even harder. If Jason can't be reinstated, we're done for. That's your problem, I said as I sat back down in my chair. It has nothing to do with me. Let me make this clear, Emily. I'm not going to lie for you. Lisa, I'll kneel if I have to. She suddenly dropped to her knees, pleading with tears streaming down her face. Please, please help us. Her sudden gesture startled me. As much as I resented her, seeing a pregnant woman kneel before me stirred a twinge of guilt in my heart. Get up, I sighed. Emily, this won't help. I'm not going to change my mind. Why? She cried. You're doing so well now. Why can't you just let us go? Let you go? I scoffed. You're the ones who betrayed me, not the other way around. I owe you nothing. But we really love each other. Love? I stood up. Emily, if Jason really loved you, would he let you shoulder all of this alone? And if you loved him, would you throw away your own child just to protect his career? She had no answer. She just sat there completely speechless. That's not love, I continued. That's selfishness. You're both willing to throw away everything. Your principles, your child, your conscience, for your own benefit. No, that's not it. Emily tried to argue. Enough. I cut her off. Get out, Emily. I don't want to see you again. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something more, but when she saw the firmness in my eyes, she stood up and left in despair. The next day, Jason showed up again. This time, he looked even worse. His face was pale and his eyes burned with anger. Lisa, how could you treat Emily like that? He snapped the moment he stepped into the clinic. She's pregnant, and you let her kneel to you. I stared at him unbothered. Let's get one thing straight, Jason. She got on her knees on her own. I didn't make her do anything. Can't you just show some compassion? His voice was loud and sharp. She's pregnant. Can't you have a little pity? Pity. I laughed bitterly. You're unbelievable. She's carrying your child. Shouldn't you be the one taking care of her? And yet here you are yelling at me. Jason was stunned, at a loss for words. Also, I added sharply, do you even know what she was planning to do for your reinstatement? What do you mean? She was going to tell people the baby isn't yours, I said, laughing coldly. That's the woman you're defending. Someone who would disown her own child to protect your reputation. Jason's face went ghostly pale. She really said that. Go ask her yourself, I said indifferently. Then tell me if I'm lying. He just stood there, stunned, speechless for a long time. Finally, he looked at me and said with a pained voice, Lisa, I'm begging you. Please help us. No, I said firmly. Absolutely not, Jason. You're both reaping what you sowed. Own it. But the baby is innocent. Yes, I said, cutting him off. The baby is innocent. But that baby isn't mine. It's not my responsibility, I said firmly. Jason stared at me, his eyes filled with despair. Lisa, are you really this heartless? I looked him straight in the eyes, not flinching, not wavering. I'm not heartless, Jason. I'm just not foolish anymore. He fell silent. His face tightened, then slowly crumbled into helplessness. After a long pause, he spoke, his voice rough. I really did love you, Lisa. I just didn't realize it until I lost you. I gave a cold, faint smile. Love isn't something you figure out after betrayal. It's not a prize you weigh and come back to when you start feeling regret. I know I messed up. It doesn't matter anymore. Everyone has to face the consequences of their own choices. I forgive you, but that doesn't mean I want you back. Don't come looking for me again. I have my own life now, and it's finally good. I turned and walked back into the clinic, leaving him standing there alone in the warm afternoon light. A soft breeze swept past, making the wooden sign over the door swing gently. On it, written in neat handwriting, Lisa's Clinic, Healing with Heart. Behind me, the little bell above the door rang as a new patient stepped in. I smiled and welcomed them, calm and steady, the way I used to be before I forgot who I was by living for someone else. At last, I had become myself again. And that was the true beginning of my life. As for Jason and Emily, their so-called love unraveled even faster than I expected. Not long after the news of her pregnancy spread, Emily quietly left town again, this time for good. Rumor had it she secretly terminated the pregnancy, and not long after was seen with a wealthy businessman from out of province. She didn't write to Jason, didn't say goodbye. She simply disappeared from his life without a trace. Jason was devastated. He waited, begged around for news, even asked mutual contacts if she was coming back. But she never did. The woman he gave up everything for had used him, then tossed him aside when things got hard. He tried to return to military life, but the stain of his suspension remained. With no future in uniform and no one by his side, Jason faded into quiet obscurity, living a small, unremarkable life that no one envied and everyone eventually forgot. Their story became nothing more than a cautionary tale. And every time I heard it whispered, I didn't feel anger or pity. All I felt was quiet satisfaction.